This is All of It. I'm Allison Stewart, live from the WNYC studios in Soho. Thank you for sharing part of your day with us. I'm really grateful that you're here. On today's show, artist Jean Shin is here to preview her new installation at Greenwood Cemetery, and we'll talk about Record Store Day, which is happening this Saturday. Get ready to call in and shout out your favorite independent place to buy vinyl. That's the plan, so let's get this started with an actor you can see on screen and on Broadway, Patrick Ball. We've arrived at the finale of the award-winning show, The Pitt, a medical drama that takes place in one day, hour by hour. This season, we have watched as hotshot Dr. Langdon returns from rehab, humbler, less sure of himself, and making amends. Langdon is played by my next guest, actor Patrick Ball. Dr. Langdon was caught stealing medication from the emergency room and confessed to being addicted to painkillers after a serious back injury. Season 2 takes place on his first day back in the hospital after rehab. As Langdon's shift progresses, he has to find his footing again as a doctor and see if he can reconnect with his mentor, Dr. Robbie. The season finale of The Pitt is airing tonight on HBO at 9 p.m. And I'm joined now by Patrick Ball, who is also making his Broadway debut in Becky Shaw. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's really nice to meet you.
Allison, thank you so much for having me. This is amazing.
What were you doing in the months before your audition for The Pitt?
I was living in Brooklyn. I was working, I think, 4 jobs at the time.
Oh, my gosh.
I was making coffee, and I was working at a restaurant, and I was working as a wardrobe assistant for And Just Like That, the Sex and the City reboot. I was driving the shoppers from store to store, picking up Carrie Bradshaw's shoes, which felt really iconic at the time.
That's amazing. So when did you get the call for the audition for The Pitt? What was going on?
It was just a regular self-tape. Yeah. You know, I was actually sick with COVID that week. I was sort of locked into my apartment, and it was one of maybe 5 self-tapes I had that week. So
wow,
I had absolutely no reason to think that this was going to be any different than the other 1,000 self-tapes I had done in the past. So I just, I'm sitting there sweating, sweating in my bedroom with no pants on, and just sort of fired off into the void, and then it came back, and it snowballed into this life-changing event for me.
What did you think of Dr. Langdon when you read about him on the page?
Well, it was really interesting because in the initial rounds of auditioning, the addiction aspect of him was not brought up.
Oh,
he was just described to me as sort of the cocky, fun-loving doctor that everybody hated to love. Mm-hmm. And so that was my way in, was somebody that just, I was somebody that moves fast. I come from healthcare workers. My mom is a lifelong ER nurse. My dad is a lifelong paramedic. And so I have known very well that this is a blue-collar job, that this is ditch-digging work. And I think often doctors are, when they're represented in TV, are often these like highly ennobled, highly like super intelligent, super compassionate sort of heroes. But I just know as somebody that comes from this community that they don't necessarily identify themselves as heroes. Like I can look at my parents and know that they're heroes, but that's not how they look at themselves. They're just, trying to keep their head down and do the next right thing, which is sort of what I wanted to do.
When the aspect of addiction came up, it was really interesting watching season 1 again, because you kind of keep it close to your vest that he's going through addiction. At first you think he's just sort of a hot shot and he's just got, it's like, firing guns on, off. But you realize he's under the influence of drugs, or at least he's trying to maintain some sort of going forward when he's under the influence of drugs. How did you talk to the writers about that? How did they talk to you about that?
Yeah, well, I think Langdon gets busted with benzos in episode 10 of season 1. And I think he is using that to sort of wean himself down and control the anxiety and the withdrawal experience that he is having from having been addicted to opioids, to painkillers. And I've got plenty of people in my life. I've got people within my family that have fallen into the trap of opioid addiction.
Of course,
and ended up there by, not having nefarious motivations or being
the way the prescriptions were originally given to people. They
Exactly.
were just like him hand over fist to people.
like I come from a farming family in North Carolina. I've got a cousin in my family who was the star of the family. He was the heir apparent, was going to take over the farm, and was the one that we were all betting on. And he sort of blew out his knee working in the field one day, and a doctor prescribed him pain pills, and it led to a sort of cataclysmic slide. And so this happens to people all across the country. And I think the fact that we get to talk about it, and I get to talk about it as Langdon, it feels like a real gift from the universe.
It's interesting because when we see Langdon in season 2, 10 months have passed by. We don't really know what's happened in those 10 months. We know he's in rehab. What conversation did you have with the writers about what Langdon's life looked like in those few months?
Yeah, they leave plenty of room for conjecture. They leave like we had some basic conversations, and I talked with Scott, the showrunner, and I was like, "So what has last 10 months been? Like, how's it going at home?" And they communicated to me that, Langdon has not been able to be the wage earner that he has been.
Interesting.
Like he's got 2 kids at home. He's got a wife at home. His wife has pulled a lot of weight as far as caregiving goes for the children, and I think up till now, Langdon has largely assumed the role of wage earner, and now he has lost his ability to come to work and to provide for his family, and I think that has created all sorts of stress within the family, and I think that he's back here, whether he's ready or not to come to work. He's at work because he needs to be.
That's hard, whether he's ready or not.
Yeah.
That's a tough role to play because you've got to consider, is Langdon ready to be the doctor? Is he ready to be the doctor he could be? What does he think?
I think over the last 10 months, he's had to come to terms with the fact that the confidence with which he moved through the world and the privilege with which he moved through the world was propped up by lies that he was telling himself and telling the people around him. And I think when you pause for a second and do that soul searching, a lot of that confidence can come into question. And I think as somebody that has been through this early recovery process, I think the confidence you find on the other side of it is much more solid and much more genuine than anything that you experienced while in addiction. But it's a process that you got to go through.
My guest is actor Patrick Ball. He plays Dr. Langdon in the Pitt. Season 2 finale will air tonight at 9 p.m. on HBO. Later, we'll talk with Patrick and his star in the Broadway debut of Becky Shaw, his Broadway debut of Becky Shaw. It's interesting this season, your physicality as Dr. Langdon compared to season 1. Talk to me a little bit about your physicality, because in season 1 you were like chest forward, going through the ER, and now it's a little more tentative.
Yeah, well, I think you're also seeing a Langdon that has not been on the train of the Pit for 10 months. And I think whenever you are in the ER, you have to move fast. You have to stay moving. And it creates this sort of, and you see it manifest in Robbie, you see it manifest in Dana, you see it manifest in anybody that has spent a lot of time showing up in this workplace every single day and realizing that you have to be almost on this sort of like manic speed where you just sort of keep moving. And especially when you compound that with the fact that Langdon in season 1 is very much running from his own shadow. And that creates a sort of compulsion, a compulsive movement that now that I've spent 10 months away and I've actually faced that shadow, and I also have not been working at the tempo of the ER. You realize that tempo that you experienced in season 1 maybe is not dispositional to who Langdon is, but is something that is necessitated by this environment.
What makes Dr. Langdon a good doctor, in your opinion?
I think he's growing every day. I think he's still very much, he's a resident. He's a doctor in training. And I think there are certain things that he gets right. I think there is a impassive nature to this work. You have to be able to compartmentalize the work and show up. And I might have... at any given moment, I have 6 patients that I'm responsible for, and I might take a loss and go through an event with a patient in trauma 1 that is going to forever change those people's lives, and I might be responsible for it, and then I've got to turn the page, and I've got to walk into trauma 2 and show up for whoever's there.
Yeah.
And that level of compartmentalization is something that is really essential for anybody that does this work. I saw it represented in my own parents growing up, and I think that is something that he is able to do. And I think the flip side of that he is learning and he is growing in, and is an ability to really pause and be present and extend compassion.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've talked to Noah Wiley when season 1 first started, and he talked about having consultants on the show, medical consultants. How are they helpful to you? How are they helpful for you in creating the character and also in doing the job?
Yeah, we have a number of medical directors that are with us on set every day, as well as a certain number of background artists that you see in the Pit that are med techs, that are real life practicing physicians and nurses that will spend half their time with us in the Pit and half their time working in actual ER. And they make sure that everything that we do procedure-wise is as accurate as possible, and everything we understand everything that we're saying. And just as useful for me as the procedural stuff is getting to just spend time in community with people that do this for real and just see energetically how they move through the world and seeing how much humor they have. There is this like very unique sense of gallows humor that was really present and of interest to me from the very beginning, just talking with like Dr. Jake Lentz, who's one of the people on the show, and he's just so funny, and he's so tired because he's so tired because he is working so hard, but he just has this incredible sense of humor with him, which I was like immediately, this is a role model for what I want to do with Langdon. What
did your parents think of the show as medical professionals?
They were stoked. I actually got to be with them. I was back in North Carolina for my dad's birthday whenever I got the call to come to LA for the screen test, and I got to talk with them about it and read through some of the script. And the first thing that they said was, they're like, "Whoa, this is crazy. This is what I would actually do. This is how I would actually see this problem." And they don't always feel that way. They often have a hard time watching medical dramas because they feel like the medicine isn't there. And I was like, oh yeah, well, this is by the same people that made ER, and ER was the same way. And they were like, yeah, but even ER felt like a television show.
Yeah,
this feels like real medicine. And so I'm very honored to be brought into this project, and it was an incredible experiment on John and Noah and Scott's part to put a show out there that is so medicine forward and so science forward, and I just feel really honored to be a part of it, and glad it worked out.
Tonight is the finale of season 2. Have you seen it?
I have not.
You've not seen it? I haven't seen it either. I had the opportunity to watch it, and I said I'm going to wait till 9:00 tonight.
I watch with everybody else.
Really?
I don't get advanced screenings, so I watch week to week with everybody else.
They've talked a little bit about season 3. Will we see Dr. Langdon in season 3?
I hope so. They're in the. I hope so. They're in the writers' room right now. So, standing by.
Standing by. We're going to talk after the break about your Broadway debut, Becky Shaw, but also Issa Briones. Thank you. She's also on Broadway as well, and Just in Time. Have you folks checked in with each other?
Oh yeah, I love Issa. She's become a dear friend, and her and Alicia, my partner, have become close friends. So me and Alicia went and saw Just in Time.
Her voice is amazing.
She's incredible. And it's so clear, like, she has been doing musical theater on the Broadway level for a long, long time, and she is so good at it, and she just seems so happy doing it. And it's just like, it's so amazing to see her in her element like that.
It's so interesting because you're all like just very good actors. You've been at it for a while. You, like you said in the beginning of the interview, you were struggling to make it, and now it's blown up in this way. And you were really honest about your loans recently, about being able to pay off your student loans. What has this meant to you personally, this kind of success?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I spent 15 years trying to break into this industry, and my dream was really Broadway, and that opportunity never came along. And I auditioned for all of the film and TV, and nothing ever really hit. And I had sort of accepted the fact that wasn't going to happen. That wasn't going to happen. And so I was looking for an off ramp. I was applying to fundraising jobs. I was exploring, at one point, like, somebody was trying to convince me to join the Connecticut State Police. And I was just like, wait, what am I doing? We had reached the point where I didn't think the dream was going to happen. And so for it to happen, in my mid-30s like this, and to be able to pay off my student loans, and to be able to feel like all those years of eating black beans for dinner are paid off, it's amazing.
Up next, we'll keep talking with Patrick about his Broadway debut in the play Becky Shaw, alongside his co-star Becky Shaw herself, actor Madeline Brewer. This is All of It.